Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here today and able to tell you about the Foundation. Tomorrow today is Benala's Community Foundation. It's a traditional community foundation with all that does, and I'm not going to talk about that at all today. We are also leading a whole of community approach to improving educational outcomes for our young people. So it's place-based, community-led. And I'm going to tell you a bit about why I focus on education, then a bit more detail about our early years program in particular, and touch a little on the successes and the challenges. Thank you. So, why are we focused on education? 12 years ago, it was a real shock for the Benalla community when Professor Tony Vincent's research that was released in the Dropping Off the Edge report highlighted the really severe level of social disadvantage in Benalla. It really was a shock for many in the community, as we were already a community foundation quite involved with various aspects of the community and were well aware that there were big problems, but not quite the level. In his report, Tony Vincent highlighted the particularly strong link between intergenerational poverty and low educational attainment, and really pointing out that that was the key thing, that if you're going to change that educational attainment, you can change disadvantage. And he also said that capable communities could change their future despite or whatever their current level of disadvantage. You can do something about it. And as Benala's independent, community-led community foundation, with a purpose of creating a stronger, more resilient and prosperous community, really we said, okay, we've got to look at this. We've got to see if we've got a place to play, a role to play in this. So is it the top one? Oops, no, left. Right. Yeah. I've probably got ahead of myself. We took 2 years of research and development to research, consult and design a long-term program, which we called the Education Benalla Program, to measurably improve educational outcomes. That was a huge body of work. Our founding director, founding chair, Liz Chapman, actually led that work, all pro bono, and to this day is the director of the foundation and convener of the program. It, of course, involved talking to the Department of Education. You know, yes, they thought the time was right for a partnership with philanthropy, the school principals, literature review, discussion paper, community consultation for a year, enormous body of work. And the foundations then for the Education Benalla program were set. So a strong foundation. We adjust all sorts of things along the way over the years, because it's now been going for 10 years and we are seeing evidence of change. But I think at the beginning, working out what you're doing and getting the sort of the base of that right is really important. So the program, Education Benalla program, consists of a host of different activities that we variously lead, partner or fund with across sort of schools, community groups, right through the community. And it really is quite something that's going on. I'm going to talk now just about one aspect of our early years program. So the PEAP program, Parents Early Education Partnership, is working with families with preschool children. And the reason we're doing that is one of Professor Vincent's comments was that to change entrenched disadvantage, you've got to concentrate on the early years of life and with the parents. Now that, it's not rocket science, it's no surprise when you think about that. And in fact, there are 3 learning environments: the family, the school and the community. We work across all 3 of those. So back in about 2011, there was, because of the level of disadvantage in Benalla, there was some state government funding, Advancing Country Towns, And council set up a community task force, and we were involved on that task force and involved in preparing a report on the sorts of early interventions that would suit our community. You know, what were the features that were needed, and we came up, and as did the Department of Education, jointly we came up with the PEAP, Parents Early Education Partnership Program. So this was a UK-based program, and it seemed ideally suited to Benalla. So after our executive officer, who was going to be holidaying in the UK, so she visited along with somebody from council, found out all about it. The PEAP people came out from Oxford over time, so we got it all up and running, and by late 2012 we had, and this is something that our foundation takes the lead on, so we employ staff and we run this program. So our first 2 sessions a week, one of those was at the Waminda Community House, the social housing area in West Benalla. That's probably the most people that had ever attended that site, because in fact the people there voted with their feet. They came to the sessions in town. They didn't want to attend, you know, be stigmatised as attending the one in that area, and that's absolutely fine. So it's facilitated playgroup free and open to all, and we work particularly hard to reach those who are vulnerable to attend. These days, we're now running 14 PEP sessions per week during school term. There's babies groups and multi-age groups. They're not normally that big a group. That was split in half. I think there was a bit of an influx all of a sudden. But so PEP recognises the values the vital role that parents play as their child's first and most important educator. There's a host of activities that go on, which I don't have time to talk about, but it does focus on parenting very much, as well as the children gaining the skills to be ready to start school. We have a great partnership with Benalla Health in delivering the program, and more than 60 other agency and community members contribute time and resources. Tomorrow Today provides the venue and 3 full-time staff equivalent. So back in the beginning with Advancing Country Towns, they contributed most of the funding for the first year, a little bit for the second year, and none after that. So very, very largely funded by philanthropy. Last year, 224 families with over 300 kids did one 10-week term of PEAP. We encourage, parents have to make a commitment to come for a term, but we encourage them to come for their child's entire preschool years. Sorry, this data may not be very big enough to see, but I just need to briefly talk about one of our successes, which is using available data to bring everybody together to make the biggest change. The Australian Early Development Census is readily available. You can go onto the website and you can see the data for your community. And once every 3 years, every prepped child in Australia is tested on a host of different there are 5 different domains of school readiness and child development. Benalla's in 2015, when you look at kids who are vulnerable, so below the 10th percentile, we had the highest rate in Victoria. So just on a third of kids were vulnerable on starting school. Most of those kids never catch up. Working with the Department of Education, we organised an AEDC forum. There's just so much information in this data. And we found that the schools that did the testing, nobody was really looking at this data. And together we worked out what could be done. So we had 50 people 50 professionals come after work on a cold, wet winter's night, together to work out what more can we do. 2018, and an enormous amount of action went on after that. 2018, significant decrease in vulnerability, which for a persistently disadvantaged community like Benalla is remarkable. We've since had another, so that data came out earlier this year, we've since had another forum, because we're now 19th worst in the state. It's a big improvement. We want to keep improving. So use the data to bring everybody together is one thing I would say. And in terms of achieving change, collaboration across public, private and community sectors, finding ways to achieve improvements, building trust, working on common agendas wherever possible. Our focus is whole of community and child by child. You really can't lose sight of the personalised approach to families and children and what their needs are, and that informs the systems change that you're bringing about. I had to show this photo. This is Peep session being run at the gallery. Peep gets out and about, so they go to the library, the aquatic centre, the Rocket Park, Estia Aged Care Home. What happens is that at the end of Peep, children arrive at school ready to learn, but children and parents arrive at school as part of a community and they're not segregated by social situation. It's really important that PEEP involves everybody. It is not a program for the disadvantaged. It is for everybody. And I guess one of our major challenges is we've had some philanthropic funders fund for 10 years, which is pretty much unheard of. Securing government funding, we have fabulous partnerships with all government departments and others across Benalla, but security of funding is something that is such a challenge. So in March this year, just as we're celebrating the AEDC results and what a difference PEEP, as part of the whole community approach is making, we were looking at having to cut sessions, cut staff, running out of money. And, it's just very frustrating. So early work with the Department of Education was vital in securing some funding right back at the beginning. So philanthropic partners knew that they could take us seriously, but it is a challenge. And look, we were fortunate to get some federal government funding at the 11th hour this year, but it's an ongoing problem. So look, in closing, I guess I'd say, be ambitious, think big, start from a strong evidence base if you can, but for a group like this, the things that count, I think, goodwill, respect, collaboration, they're in your DNA and they are the things that make community collaboration work. Tomorrow Today Foundation has no authority, but when you look at the sort of collective across the community, what's happening, we have great power, and I think that's what communities have. Thank you.